Pale white skin was the hallmark of the upper class during the reign of Elizabeth. Queen Elizabeth I's makeup represented the 16th century ideal for women, and her porcelain skin represented nobility and earthly perfection. Well, to achieve that perfection, Elizabeth covered her face in lead, which slowly poisoned her body as well. But that wasn't the only dangerous beauty product Elizabeth used. She also rubbed mercury on her lips and likely used mercury-based makeup remover, which ate away at her skin. As a ruler, a female queen was held to higher standards than her male contemporaries. With Mary, Queen of Scots, threatening her throne, Elizabeth believed that royalty couldn't afford to have a flaw in the man on the throne. So, as the queen aged, she used more and more lead-based cosmetics. As you requested, today we're going to talk about Queen Elizabeth I's killer makeup. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a new video. During Elizabeth's time, pale skin was the highest standard of female beauty, and women who had smallpox scars like Elizabeth were especially keen to cover up their skin imperfections with makeup. Elizabeth used makeup made from white lead and vinegar, which gave her a distinctive pale appearance. But applying lead to her face every day caused serious problems, including hair loss and skin deterioration. To top it all off, lead poisoning may have ultimately taken the queen's life. In addition to the lead in her cheeks, Elizabeth's beautiful lip color also contained poison. Made from a toxic material containing mercury, the lipstick on her lips gave her her signature red color. And, accordingly, mercury was also entering the queen's body through her lips. Symptoms of mercury poisoning include memory loss, irritability, and depression, a condition Elizabeth reportedly experienced toward the end of her life. Elizabeth's favorite cosmetic was Venetian white, a mixture of white lead and vinegar. The queen powdered her face and neck with this substance, thereby turning her skin into porcelain. But the white contained dangerous poisons that Elizabeth and other owners absorbed through their skin. On the surface, the lead slowly ate away at the queen's face. To hide the imperfections, Elizabeth applied increasingly thick layers of makeup. By the end of her life, her makeup was about 1.5 inches thick. In Elizabeth's time, nobles did not wash off their makeup every night. Instead, they wore it for at least a week. During this time, the lead was absorbed into her skin, causing it to turn gray and become covered in wrinkles. When the time finally came to remove the makeup, she used a mixture containing eggshells, alum, and mercury, another dangerous poison that was slowly killing the queen. At the time, people often said that mercury makeup remover made their skin soft. And it certainly was, because mercury simply killed the top layer of skin, which is what made it so soft. Elizabeth contracted smallpox on October 10, 1562, when she developed a high fever. For a week, courtiers worried that Elizabeth, who was already in her late 20s, would die. As we know, the royal survived, but the disease left permanent scars. Smallpox scars were a common problem at the time. Families like Elizabeth's did everything they could to hide such imperfections. As one of the few female monarchs in English history at the time, Elizabeth knew she was being closely watched. In 1586, when she was in her early 50s, Elizabeth commented on the importance of these expectations in a speech to Parliament.
I tell you that we rulers are on the stage, in the sight of the whole world, and all are watching us. The eyes of many see our actions. Stains are quickly noticed in our clothes. Mistakes are quickly noticed in our actions.
Although she was speaking about both male and female rulers, Elizabeth's language implied a concern for her own appearance. The choice to express concern about blemishes and mistakes suggested that the ruler was concerned about her appearance, not just her actions. Elizabeth wore far less makeup in her early years. She did not have smallpox scars to hide until she was in her 20s and had damaged her skin with lead makeup. Elizabeth likely wore a much lighter dusting of white lead. During Elizabeth's reign, a law was passed in England banning unflattering portraits of the Queen. Instead, artists were required to depict the Queen without wrinkles, even into her 60s. The portraits idealized the Queen's appearance, showing her as she wanted to be seen: strong, healthy, with pale, flawless skin. Elizabeth spent the last years of her reign struggling to hide the signs of aging. But in 1599, the Earl of Essex managed to see the Queen in a nightgown, without a wig or makeup. The Earl was shocked to discover that his Queen was almost bald, with only a ring of fine hair hanging from her ears. Without makeup, Elizabeth's wrinkles gave away her years. Elizabeth spent the last months of her life refusing to allow doctors to examine her. According to one courtier, the Queen fell into a deep melancholy. Yet she refused to rest. She believed that if she lay down, she would never rise again. And so Elizabeth stood for 15 hours straight, with her ladies-in-waiting throwing pillows around the Queen in case she inevitably fainted. On March 24th, 1603, Elizabeth died at the age of 69. But did lead makeup really end the Queen's life? After all, she lived to be 69. It is entirely possible that the poison slowly led to her demise. Other possibilities include cancer or pneumonia, but using lead-based cosmetics for decades certainly contributed to her deteriorating health. After decades of lead poisoning, Elizabeth's body was undoubtedly toxic. One of the Queen's ladies-in-waiting even claimed that Elizabeth's body burst in her coffin after her death due to the abundance of noxious fumes. However, historians have reason to doubt the veracity of this story. While Elizabeth almost certainly suffered from the effects of lead poisoning, she most likely died of blood poisoning. Just a week before her death in 1603, doctors suggested a risky procedure. For 45 years from the day she was crowned, Elizabeth wore her coronation ring. After decades of wearing it, the ring had become embedded in her skin. Doctors warned her that the ring needed to be removed. The Queen died shortly thereafter. It is possible that removing the ring caused the blood poisoning that led to the ruler's demise. Elizabeth I was the greatest ruler in English history, and historians consider her reign to be the Golden Age, as it saw the rise of arts such as theater and William Shakespeare's drama. This is how killer Elizabeth I makeup was. Beauty certainly requires sacrifice, but in my opinion, this is too much, ladies.